and I would like to welcome you to today's Live Without Limits segment. And today's segment is called Why You Need to Be Challenged. Could you go 40 days without red meat and alcohol? This year, I decided I would participate in Lent. So, for 40 days and 40 nights, I am not eating any red meat or drinking any alcohol. If a goal does not challenge you, it cannot change you, said Gary Ryan Blair. What is it that compels people to be fearful, to think and act like a part of the herd, to say I won't or I can't rather than I will? And the biggest challenge we have is to take on a challenge, to not accept the status quo, to not follow the herd, to be different. And I think one of the reasons that people don't want to challenge what the status quo is that they're desperate for love. And if we just stay where we are, then we just assume that people will love us. And, you know, some people know how to love and some people don't know how to love. So for the majority of us, it is the desire for safety, refuge, security. And in short, the inclination is to play it safe and remain in our comfort zones. We are often influenced by the environment as we grow up. It's the old nature versus nurture adage. We're a product of the environment we grow up in. When you hear something repeated to you over and over again, you grow up to believe it. And then you replay those tapes in your head over and over again and repeat them to yourself because you believe them. If you had someone telling you you're worthless, then you believe it. And that becomes your comfort zone. Remember the riddle, the baker, the butcher, the candlestick maker? Someone is scripting you into a pigeonhole of what their expectations for you are. You can either choose to stay in your comfort zone or you can choose to break the mold and move out of your comfort zone. We want unconditional love from our family, so we tend to stay and let them dictate our lives just for their love. We fear what will happen by not complying with their view of us. Overall, people are more fearful than they are courageous. And what they fear most are the troubles with which unconditional honesty and intellectual maturity would burden them with. People hide the underperforming lives behind fear. And by doing so, they violate the greatest principle of all, the principle that every human being is a unique wonder and has beauty within that is worth bringing out. Ultimately, every human being is capable of greatness. And remember, it is how we see ourselves and how we relate to the world. And for me, being someone with a disability, growing up in an era when society did not recognize its disability community, then it was easy for me not to believe in myself. And then when I grew up in a home where there was a family that was constantly telling me, you're worthless, you're helpless, you can't live on your own, you can't think for yourself, then it was easy as a child to buy into it. But then what happened for me was that I began to look out and say, why me? Why me? There is a purpose for me in my life. And along the way, I began to believe in myself. Why you need to be challenged? Life has always been a challenge to me because of the limitations placed upon me because of my disability. Cerebral palsy or spastic hemiplegia affects my right side and how my brain processes the information. My grades in school didn't reflect my true capabilities because I learn differently. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this because teachers teach in a cookie cutter fashion because they can't teach students individually based on how they learn. And if you learn differently and you are sitting in the classroom and the teacher teaches you in one way, then either you get it or you don't get it. And if you don't get it, then you have to, if you want to succeed, you have to figure out a way to get it on your own. And I had to learn to do things like let me back up. And I learned differently. And what it is because I only have one hand because spastic hemiplegia affects one side of my body. So that what happens is that, as you can see, there's limitations in the ability to control my fingers, to make them maneuver the way I want to. Because when I walk, I don't go heel toe. I tend to drag one foot. Then it's easy for me to fall, to lose my balance. So it's important for me to exercise along the way. And I had to learn to do things like tie my shoes and type with just one hand. I didn't realize until I was in graduate school that sometimes what I see and what I write down can be two different things. This happened most often when it comes to numbers. Therefore, I did poorly in math. Yet my teachers in grade school, because they were not aware of it, or even if they saw it, they just didn't bring it to my attention and work with me individually. Because at that time, there was no such thing as special education, where you would work with individuals and help them learn at the ability that they're able to. And that which does not kill us makes us stronger, said Friedrich Nietzsche. The human body serves as the perfect metaphor for understanding the importance of a challenge, for the simple reason that the body is built to adapt and respond to demands that are placed upon it. The stronger the demand, the stronger the response. Physical muscles continue to grow and strengthen through the principle of progressive resistance. The principle is based on the theory that muscles must be challenged in order to upgrade and grow, that they will progressively work to overcome the resistant force which requires it to do so. The opposite is also true, as physical muscles will downgrade and weaken with the absence of a challenge. The principle of progressive resistance operates on the same way in every area of our lives. And that is why we all need to be challenged. Because cerebral palsy mainly affects my right side of my body, and those muscles were drawn up very tight, that at the age of 14, when I reached my full height, the orthopedist performed surgery on my right arm and my right leg to release the tendons to improve my range of motion on that side. Now, in the 1960s, there was very little known about sports medicine. You didn't see health clubs, so that when I was sent for physical therapy, the physical therapy that they sent me for was just to move blocks from one location to another. Well, that didn't do a whole lot of good, because without the control of the fingers, without being able for the brain to send the right messages to those fingers to do what it wanted it to, it just didn't work. But as health clubs began to open, as you started noticing more and more about sports medicine and how it can improve and make careers in sports like football and baseball and extend it, then you started seeing the machines come into existence. And for me, for the past 30 some odd years, I have belonged to a health club because by my continually exercising and strengthening those muscles, it has improved my balance. And as long as I keep exercising, then it keeps me from falling down as much as I would if I didn't exercise. And not just physically challenged, we need intellectual, leadership, spiritual, relational, sales, and any other type of performance challenge that stretches us, forces us to overcome adversity, tests our character and commitment, and inspires us to say adios to our comfort zone. When will your finest hour come, and how will it arrive? Do you really think it will be materialized without a challenge, without your perseverance being tested, without you being pushed to your limits, tormented, and put through your own personal hell? In short, for an individual, team, company, community, or country to become great, they must seek out and rise to the great challenge that are thrust upon them. This is no other way, as you are about to find out who will you become, as well as the traits and skills set you to develop in rising to meet a challenge, as much more important than the nature of the challenge itself, a reward for rising to a challenge. Now, a challenge develops your mental toughness. It's actually pretty simple. You either rise to meet the mental demands and physical rigors of the challenge, or you succumb to them. And because victory begins in the mind, all challenges are initially won or lost between your ears. The very nature of a challenge sets an appropriate stage for practicing mental toughness, which by definition means a psychological edge that enables you to remain focused and confident during the high pressure situations to perform at one's full potential. You know, and let's discuss this a little bit, mental challenge. Now, when you work in a company and you want to move up in the company, you want to move into management, what do? You go out and you learn. You learn to understand how you communicate more effectively. You learn how to get along in teams with groups of people. And many of companies, what they have done is they've had these outsourcing groups that they go to where they attend outdoor activities or a obstacle course, because being able to succeed, being able to rise above that, that helps improve your mental toughness, because when you are tough, then you meet on your challenges and you're able to succeed, you're able to move ahead in your life instead of staying with the status quo. Because what tends to happen is we love to stay in that comfort zone, that place that we were placed in as a child. And if you want to be successful, you need to find a way to get out of that comfort zone. A challenge stands down fear. A challenge is unique in that it immediately engages the fight or flight mechanism. And you never know how you are going to react until you are faced with it. Fear is never a reason for quitting. It's only an excuse for those unwilling to face their doubts, insecurities, and mental boogeymen. Therefore, your first duty in rising to meet a challenge is to conquer your fear and the mental resistance it brings along with it. Get rid of it quickly and get steamrolled by it. Fear can keep you frozen in time and space when you have to make a decision. It's the old fight or flight mechanism built into your innate behavior that keeps you from making a decision in your life, or whether to stay in your comfort zone or move ahead of your comfort zone and make choices in your life. And let's talk about making choices. You know, if you get a job and your long-term goal may be to become self-employed, but you feel comfortable being where you are, staying there simply because it's a paycheck. But if something happens to that job, then you're forced into having to make other decisions. Well, what if you hold on to that job, but you start moving towards self-employment or building an extra income through other sources of income so that you're creating multiple streams of income? And why is that important? Because you never know when your job is going to change, whether the title or the company or whatever is going to downsize. Because today the marketplace is still very volatile when it comes to gainful employment. So you have to be willing and ready to accept that challenge. A challenge inspires courageous acts. The conceptual opposite of courage is cowardice. We are therefore confronted with the reality that we either habitually practice courage or we habitually practice cowardice. Courage is remarkable in that it takes on the form of every virtue at the testing point. When courage is tested, it manifests itself in the form of character, initiative, self-control, and responsible behavior. When cowardice is tested, it presents itself in opposite forms that include bad character, procrastination, excuses, and blame. How many times have you heard of a courageous act performed on the news when someone witnesses an accident and they jump in the water to save someone from a drowning or a fire without a thought to themselves or the danger that it's putting them in? A challenge tests your limits. When you rise to meet a challenge, you will never be the same again. You either cope or crumble. You become better or bitter. You emerge stronger or weaker. It has to be this way as a challenge exists to test your limits, to push you beyond the breaking point, and to separate you from the herd. You'll never know the full measure of your potential until you are tested. If I hadn't have had a strong independent streak and not have tried the limits, which in my family was rewarded by physical abuse at the hands of my father, or a lot of mental and emotional abuse by the hands of my mother, because she was a negative person in her lifetime and would have never challenged the system, then you know what? If I had not chosen to challenge it, to get beyond what I was being told, then in today's marketplace, I would have lived with my mother all of my life until she died. And then I would have been stuck trying to figure out how to be independent. Because, you know, we have to learn at a young age when we have the support systems available. And the problem was, in my case, that being someone with a disability, there were no laws on the books in the 50s and the 60s that guaranteed people with disabilities the right to an education and the right to employment. The difference is that I was willing, because I had an outgoing personality and that was my natural behavioral style, to challenge things. And often, because I was willing to challenge what my parents were saying that I just wouldn't accept, well, I'm helpless or I'm worthless, then, you know, that was to my benefit, because it meant that as a young adult, even though I was in my 20s, I was able to go out and learn to live independently. And often, because I entered the workforce 15 years before the Americans with Disabilities Act became law, the doors were not open to me for employment. So I had to take the scary road of building a business, being independent, figuring out how to be successful, how to sell, how to get along with people, how to market, how to do the things that people today need to know, because there are no guaranteed jobs in today's job market. Not like there was 10, 15, 20 years ago when people went to work for the corporations and they worked there for life. A challenge focuses attention. A great challenge is like a great romance. It calls for your passion and your devotion, and it demands to be the center of your attention. Rising to meet a challenge is a form of seduction. It means concentrating on your energy and resources, on what's most important, keeping the fire burning. You do that by making everything count. Everything you think, say, and do must be focused on goal acquisition and on leveraging all available resources. Setting goals in your life and being held accountable keeps you on track to reach these goals. And let me give you an example. If you have a business, or if you want to learn how to become more self-confident, the thing is, when you think about it, a business today, many companies will post their mission and they teach their employees what their mission is so that everyone works towards that goal. What I have found is individuals don't always know what their purpose in life is, and we usually don't know until the end of life. But if you have an idea, if you know what it is that you have a passion for, then you need to set up a goal or write down your mission for your life, whether it be in personal relationship, whether it be in business, and you need to write down what it is and how you're going to achieve that goal. And then you need someone to help you become accountable to work on that goal. If you do that, then you can reach your goals, and you can choose whether it be working for a company and going into management, because not everyone can be an entrepreneur. But you know what? There are new companies being started on a daily basis. The problem is they're not selling their wares through the typical fashion of retail stores or in a company where you go in and you work doing telemarketing, because a lot of companies today that they are looking to cut their overhead, so they hire people to work as independent contractors. And it's up to you to decide how you are going to work for yourself or how you are going to succeed in life. And you need to write that goal down just so you can succeed. A challenge builds self-confidence. Think of a challenge, any kind of challenging goal. Ask yourself, what role does self-confidence play in rising to meet that challenge? The fact is that no mountains can be climbed, no hearts won, no opportunities seized, no books written, no elections won, and no victories enjoyed without self-confidence. Have you ever watched a politician when they are running for an office? Don't they always sound self-confident in themselves, like they consider themselves to be the next governor, the next mayor in their speech? That is what we're talking about by self-confidence. It can be nothing more than changing your personal script for yourself and starting to make affirmations like, success and good fortune flow toward me in a river of abundance. I attract success and prosperity with all of my ideas. Success and achievement are natural outcomes for me. All of my thoughts, plans, and ideas lead me straight to success. Opportunities and advantages come with each door that I open. The positive advantages is always mine. Prosperity and success is my natural state of mind. I ascend to the top of the corporate ladder and my salary has topped the charts. My management skills open the door for opportunity. I am an example of success and triumph. A challenge matures perspective. A few things in life are capable of radically altering your perspective, but developing the capacity to rise to a challenge not only impacts the size of your results, it transforms your mind and expands your worldview. It challenges everything. A challenge involves psychological trauma that induces fear, self-doubt, and insecurity while simultaneously dislodging you from your comfort zone, ultimately bringing about a superior performance. By rising to meet the challenge, you provide yourself with undeniable proof that you have what it takes. This proof cements in your mind that you are the type of person capable of performing great acts and that you really can do anything you set your mind to. And you know, it really is a mindset. And learning how to believe in yourself. And that helps you get out of your comfort zone and be willing to challenge what society says and be willing to reach out towards success in a way that only you know what your true capabilities are. A challenge demands superior execution. A challenge has limited value if not overcome and expecting to get better. Results from the same old behavior will only succeed in perpetuating your current situation. It will not get you to another level of performance. Great companies, lives, and families are built around the extraordinary execution skills. The better you execute, the better you perform, and the bigger the challenge you can take on. It's that simple. You know, nothing stays stagnant. Everything changes from one moment to the next. We never know when our next challenge will be coming towards us, so we need to be open and ready for it when it does. A challenge calls for indomitable spirit. It is irresponsible to take on a big challenge without the will, heart, and mindset to win it, as nothing can withstand the power of indomitable spirit. In your efforts to rise to meet the challenge, you will be buffeted and pummeled. You will be criticized and opposed. You will be attacked and assaulted. You will struggle and fall. Your commitment will be relentlessly tested. And that is precisely why a challenge calls for an indomitable, unquestionable spirit. A challenge empowers freedom. Freedom isn't free. It requires blood, sweat, and tears. But freedom is the ultimate prize for rising to meet the rigors and demands of a challenge. In virtually every case, the decision to rise to meet a challenge boils down to the desire for greater freedom in one's life. This includes freedom from and freedoms to. In freedoms from, you want the monkey off your back, the shackles of debt, the self-limiting beliefs, the masses, the comfort zone, fear, the opinions of others, settling for less. We need to learn to build and get away from this, to not to get out of those limiting beliefs, then we can achieve more than we can achieve if we just let ourselves stay with those limiting beliefs. Now, freedoms 2. Focus on projects you find important. Think and dream without limits. Set and control the agenda. Say no without guilt. Showcase your talents. Be authentic. Succeed or fail at your own terms. To enjoy the freedoms requires that you rise to the challenges life presents and pay the required price in full, in advance, and without complaint. And, I call my show Live Without Limits. And why do I call my show Live Without Limits? Because if I had accepted what people were telling me, that I didn't have the ability to succeed in life, then I would never have lived a full life like I have lived today. And I would like to remind you, if you are looking for help to learn to get out of your limiting beliefs and to learn to set goals for yourself and to be working on those goals, to challenge yourself to succeed, then you can go to my website, and that website is the #1 personalcareercoach.com, and you can sign up for both individual and group coaching. If you would like to watch this presentation again, then you can go to my website, askdavidashinsky.com, and you can go to the archived webcast page and watch it as many times as you need to. And I have some articles that you can read that can help you decide whether or not you can be successful in your life. And we can help you grow and set goals and find your mission in life. Find what it is that you have a passion for. You can go to my website, my radio show on Blog Talk Radio, and that is blogtalkradio.com/Career Performance Institute. And on that site, I have many radio shows that I have presented on teaching you how to decide what you are worth and how you can achieve your goals in life and become the person that you truly want to be. And I would like to thank you for attending this presentation or for listening to it as an archived presentation, and I would like to welcome you to come back to my next presentation.